Awesome. We are being recorded. Fantastic. Welcome everyone to the portion. I'm so excited that you're all here with us. And Jen, thank you so much for stepping in and being with me today. I sure appreciate it. Charlie had some family business that needed to be taken care of. So if you guys think of her, just be praying for her and her family, and she'll be back with us soon. So we are sending our love and care to her right now. So Jen, thanks so much for joining me. I sure appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so welcome everyone on Facebook. It's so good to see you. Chris Castro is going to be our little go-between today. Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate you so much. And she's going to be, if you have questions that you want to ask us, she's going to be helping us get those questions. So make sure and raise your hand or say something, or type something in for Chris so that she can let us know what's going on. I am just not that person that can do two things. I can't have both screens open at the same time. Just can't do it, but that's okay. I have my limits. And if you think I don't, we can have a talk and I can let you know what some of my limits are. I'm sure you already all know. Anyway, so we are going to be, we're going to be doing Pinchas, or Pinchas actually is how I always said it, Pinchas, you know. And Jen and you and I were talking the other day. I said it's actually Pinchas, Peen, like P-E-E-N, Pinchas.
I actually wrote down the phonetic spelling that you
did. You? You're so smart.
Because I want to call him Phineas, so I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Yeah.
Oh yes. So yeah, somebody was having issues with your sound. Is everybody being able to hear okay? Yeah. Okay. Good. Fantastic. That's wonderful. All right. So welcome everyone. Wow, this is an amazing, amazing portion. Wow. It started last week. Jen, I'll tell you what, it knocked me off my feet. Mm-hmm. And having just, you know, coming out of this, what I like to do, shalom everyone, what I like to do is I kind of like to get an overview. So read through the whole, I like to read through the whole portion, get an overview of what's happening, kind of look back and see what was happening the week before. Yeah. And as you know, last week we were in Balak. So hello. that was something. I'll tell you what. Oh, hey, before we get started, I need to do some housekeeping real quick. Let me share my screen with you. Some of you ladies are new, and can I just say hello and welcome? I can't wait to meet you all. Hello to everyone that I have not had a chance to meet or be able to have said hello to. So I just want to bring this up real quick. We are reading the portion. We have a reading schedule that is in the portion. So I just want to show you where that's at. So if you go to the portion, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So here's the portion. And then right here, there's all of these topics at the very top. This guides. If you click on that, I don't know why they called it guides. We didn't have a choice in that. It's just what they came up with. You're going to see past Torah portions and past videos that are on there. So you guys that are new, please feel free to go in there, catch up. You can look and see what the last portions were, any of the other videos that we put in there. So that's all good. And that's under guides. But if you keep going over here and you'll click over here where it says more and go to files, if you'll just scroll down right here, these are all kinds of different files that we've put in here to bless you. And one of the ones that we put in here is the reading schedule for 2020 and 2021. There's flashcards in there too. That's really good. The reading schedule for 2021. And if you will click on that, it will, I printed out one for us for today. If I see it, well, I haven't left my seat, so I wonder where it went. let's see, just real quick. It'll download onto your computer and then you can just print it right out. Well, let me just do that. I'll just show it to you that way. Okay. And then
I was going to grab mine, Brenda, but I can't find mine either.
I just had, oh, here it is.
Okay,
here it is. Okay. All right, so here it is. I'm going to stop the share. This is what it looks like. This is the page that we're on right here. We're right here. So the dates that are on here, people are asking us all the time, and this is how I like to do it. It's what's helped me. The date that is on here is going to be the date your homework's due. Okay, so it's not the date you start reading, it's the date that it's due. Yeah. So for example, today's is it says July 3rd. That's the portion for Friday today, because July 3rd is when it's due. Okay, I hope that helps, because a lot of people think, well, do I start reading it on July 3rd? No, that's when you want to finish it. So it says Pinchas, and then it has numbers 25:10 through 31, and then for the Haftorah it has Jeremiah, and then for the Gospels, the Brit Hadashat has John 2:13 through 22. So that is what we're following, and we follow this because this is what Israel's following, and we are basically we're trying to stay in unity with the brethren. Okay, some of you have a different portion schedule that you follow, and that's perfectly fine. This is the portion schedule that we'll be doing here in the portion. Okay, so there's no conflict. There's no one's better than the other. This is just the one that we use, and we're staying in unity that way with that. So anyway, I hope that helped. So just go up to the portion, scroll over to more, click files, click, and then find your schedule, print it out, and you've got it. And then we're all on the same page. So.
And it's also wonderful that pretty much every Sunday, and she is very faithful, Misty does post, which is great. I always appreciate that. I get that little notification every Sunday from Misty, and she reminds me what portion is coming up and what the reading is for the week. So I like to start mine on Sunday, because sometimes it takes me a whole week to get it done.
Absolutely. That's right. So today, Friday, is the end of the Torah portion reading. So today and tomorrow we'll be finishing up our Pinchas. And then if you're following any of the teachers, like Jacob's Tent or our congregation here locally, this is the schedule that most of them are on too. So that helps. And Halisa is on this schedule too, so that helps too, because she puts out her YouTube videos on the portion, and I love them. Yeah, it's really good. So okay, any of you that are new, please say hello. Please drop a little comment in. Introduce yourself on the portion on the Facebook page. We love you. We're so glad you're here, and thank you for joining us. Jen, is there anything else that I might have forgotten?
I don't think so. You're rocking it, Brenda.
All right. And also, ladies, somebody just mentioned Sarita. Yes, Sarita, thank you. I listen to I have the Tree of Life version downloaded on my phone. And then I just listen to that throughout the week. So you can click, it's free. It's called TLV. And it's a free app. You can get it for your iPhone or for your Samsung. And I love that because I listen to that a lot. I put my earbuds in, I pop it in, and I just listen to it throughout the week. And it reads the entire portion. Sometimes they don't read the Haftorah. Good morning. They don't read the Haftorah or the New Testament scriptures, but they read the Torah scripture. So that's really great. And I like that because it helps me throughout the week keep my focus, keep my attention. It's easy for us to get distracted. Oh, wait, that's what's going on in the Torah portion. Interesting. So what is happening in the world today? What is happening within the Torah portion to us today as a people? So Jen, I would really like to kind of talk about that, kind of put it into a perspective of how is this affecting us right now? I know that there's a global picture, there's a worldwide picture, there's the Torah perspective worldwide picture, but there's also a perspective of how do we take these scriptures, read these scriptures and walk them out in a practical everyday application? How do we do that? So how about if we just kind of dig in? What do you think?
Yeah,
All right.
sounds good.
All right. So we're going to start this morning, Numbers 25. Now, where were we coming from? What was happening last week? Whoa, last week.
Yeah, a lot.
Last week. Okay, so
there was a lot happening last week.
I know, Jen. It's like, what? Okay, so last week we were dealing with the fact that the dark forces of the earth are in total conflict with those that are the children of God. Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So the governments of the world were rising up and saying, we need to squash these people. They are blowing it for us. And so Balak hires this prophet for hire, Bilam, and pays and promises to pay him for cursing the children of Israel. So they go into this whole elaborate thing. God is so good. He basically said, ain't happening. Mm-hmm. And Bilam, he doesn't get paid unless he actually follows through with what he's going to do. So we don't really know. They don't really tell us that how that all worked together. But we do know that this man, even though he spoke words of blessing, it wasn't because that's what he wanted to do. It wasn't because he was in alignment. It was because God would not let him do anything other than that. He wouldn't allow him to speak curses over the children of Israel, B'nai Israel. So it's really interesting how that really sets a tone for where we're at in world events, even right now.
Yes.
People are trying to curse the people of God, have been since the beginning. And the Holy One's saying, nope, not going to do that. I'm not going to let you do that. Watch what happens. So Balaam, he is standing on the mountaintops in these high places, looking out over the people, and he's speaking blessings to them, which that's actually what's coming out of his mouth, the blessings of God over the people. But in his heart, he's thinking, well, this isn't going to work. So what he does is he tells Balak, well, I'll tell you what, you're not going to be able to curse these people because God won't allow it. But what you can do is bring in some of those women and corrupt them from that perspective, because it'll be their choice. We can't put a curse upon the people because they're covered. Mm-hmm. But they can sure invite that curse in themselves. And that's what happened. So he showed them how to have a little go around, you know what I mean? Like get around what was being done. And that's what he did. Yeah. So
Brenda, one of the things I see with Balaam that really stuck out with me last week is mostly I think of the first verse in chapter 24, where it says, he did not go as the other times to seek to use his sorcery. So I thought about that and I thought, so here is a man who clearly goes before the Father. There's a conversation. They're in communication with each other. The Most High is speaking to him, and he's guiding him, but yet his intention was sorcery. His intention was something that was not from the Most High, even though he was perceived. Yeah. And I think that's where I'm getting at. Even though he was perceived to be a very godly man.
Yeah.
And this third time he did something differently. God's blessing and protection was still over the people, but just that his heart, what was on the outside and appearance, was not the same as what was on the inside. And I think we have to caution ourselves sometimes too about that. Outwardly, if someone looks one way, it always comes down to what's in the heart that's going to matter.
Yeah. And it's always what's in the heart that
Yes.
the Holy One brings to the forefront, which is exactly what happened with Pinchas, right? It was what was in his heart.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I love that, Jen. Thank you so much for
That's
bringing that.
actually an
It's
opposite.
really
I didn't
true.
think about that, Brenda. When we get to Pinchas, he's almost the opposite of Balaam, because he does
Totally.
something that externally could be perceived as very bad,
Yes.
but his inward
Yeah.
heart, his reasoning
Yeah.
for doing it, he was blessed because of it. So they're
Yeah.
opposites.
Yeah, he killed one of the sons of Israel. It really could be perceived as being bad, or it could be perceived. I mean, there's all kinds of ways you can perceive it. But yeah, but what he was doing, I can't wait. Let's get into that in a minute.
So,
What he was
so I
doing,
have to
what
I
does
have
that
to
mean?
comment. Petra said in the comments, which is very true. It's almost like manipulation was sorcery.
100%. Yeah.
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 It's like the sin of witchcraft. This rebellion that they were having, and that whole thing gives you that whole dark energy, all of that, this rebellion that was going on. It was all that dark energy, and uh, Balak, that was his jam. That's how he ruled his people.
Yeah.
And he was definitely in the dark arts, as was Bilam. He was not a man of God. He was not a prophet of God. He did hear. He was in tune with spirits. He heard the voice of God. He absolutely did. But his heart was not to see the ways and the covenant of God's people
Yeah.
fulfilled. That was not his heart.
False
And
prophet, something else we see today.
100%.
Right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was after fame and fortune.
Mm-hmm.
That was his calling card, was fame and fortune. That's what made him tick. Otherwise, he would have, if he was truly a man of God, if he would have been on his face terrified. you know, there's no way, but here it is. Yeah. It comes in all kinds of different forms, people doing this. So here we go. Let's start. So now we know that this is what. Whoops, excuse me. This is what Pinchas did. He in the last. Sorry, I knocked something on my computer and had all these things pop up. The last thing that he did last week was that. I'll read it. It says verse 7. When Pinchas, son of Eleazar, okay, so this is Aaron's son, Eleazar, who is the high priest. Pinchas is his son. So this is the grandson of Aaron. When Pinchas, son of Eleazar, saw the Cohen, saw it, what did he see? He saw the Israelite man taking a woman into the holy places and having ritual relations with her. This was all part of the worship that was going on with that group of
Yeah.
people.
Yes.
So they were bringing it into the camp. They were bringing the worship of their gods into the camp. The other gods, not our God, because that's not how he had us worship him. He arose from the midst of the assembly. Now remember, Moses had just said, all right, you guys, this is it. Moses was crying, and he said, this is it. You need to take up your swords. We have to stop this. Pinchas jumps up from the midst of the assembly, takes a spear in his hand, and went after the man of Israel into the tent and pierced him through both the Israelite man and the woman's belly. And the plague among Bnei Israel was stopped. However, 24,000 were dead because of the plague. So whatever the plague that was going on, they don't really tell us what it was. But the issue is that there were 24,000 dead already because of this plague. But when it pierced the son of Israel, and it pierced the woman, and they died, the plague was stopped. It's really interesting how that was an act of violence that stopped the plague. And it could have been, like you were saying, Jen, it could have been taken out of context and people could think, oh, well, he was just, it says in King James, jealous. He was jealous for the things of God. Really not a great way of translating it with our understanding of what jealous means in our vernacular now. The word is really zealous. And let me see if I can share my screen real quick, and do I have it?
While you're doing that, Brenda,
Yeah.
I have the TS 2009, and it reads a little bit differently. It says, my wrath from the children of Israel, because he was ardent with my adore in their midst. So I looked those up, and essentially ardent is a fiery passion, just fire in the belly passion. And my adore, which is what the Most High says, is an intense passion. So comparatively, they're very similar.
Yes, and it depending on where you're at, it's either your passion is going to be for the things of the Holy One, or your passion is going to be for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was the passion that Pinchas had? It was the passion of the Holy One.
Yes.
This is the word for zealous here in Hebrew. Can you see it okay, Jen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So it's called, in Hebrew, it's kana, and that is kof. This is the kof right here. Nun right here. Aleph right here. So 3 letters. This is the word for zealous. It's a root word for zealous. And remember, in Hebrew, everything is always an action-based verbs, movement, what it's doing, how it's working, it's not about the nouns where they're stagnant and they stop. It's about the verbs of action and doing, movement. And so what is moving here? Well, I'll just, real quick, just give you my 2 cents worth. This kof, the first letter kof is a set apart place. It's a territory that has been set apart and portioned off like a garden. Okay, you can kind of see it here. This and this right here, this would be the garden inside, right? It's portioned off. It's separated unto something, and it's unto holiness. It's being set apart. What are the things that are set apart? Kadosh is also a word that starts with the same letter, and that is being set apart and holy unto the Lord, right? It's the things that God has said are holy, that he has said are set apart. That's what this letter is, kof. It is that set apartness. It's also, because Hebrew letters always have more than one meaning, it's also the back of the head. Okay, so it's the place where your strategies are, where your influence is. It's at the back of your head. So what needs to be set apart? Yeah, definitely our influence and how we influence, who we influence. So this is the set apartness. And then the second letter is nun, which is the air, the seed. It's like a baby bet. It's an heir. So it would be your sons or your daughters, the children that come from you that extend your family. It's the heir. It also is life. It also is another word for life, like fish, because fish provide life. They're moving, they provide food, that's part of the life part of it. So this is life, heirs. So when I say heirs and when I say men, you all know that that's like not gender biased. That's like, okay, that's, it's, yeah, it incorporates everybody. Okay, so there's the nun. That's what it is. The nun is the heir, the son. Okay, and then Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which is talking about the strength, the leadership, the might of Elohim, Adonai. He is one. that's the letter that represents the Father in his completeness, in his wholeness, in his oneness. So let's look at this word and let's just kind of look at the letters and go, what kind of a story is this telling us?
Yeah.
So here we go, being set apart. Who's being set apart? The heir, the person, the man, the person. And what are they being surrounded by? The set apartness, this holiness, and the strength and unity of the Father. So what is zealousness? It is that set apartness, that thing that is causing you to rise up with the holiness of the Father, his strength, his power, his might, his completeness, his unity, and that set apartness saying, this is what is holy. This is what is set apart. This is what I think is set apart. And we're talking about what he's thinking, right? And that is what is encompassing the man right here, the middle part. The nun, the heir.
Brenda, that's so good. That
That's
just really pulls that together.
Does it? I was thinking this morning, I wrote this out, Isaiah 55, and it says, for my thoughts. Okay, so here we go. This is where the thoughts, this is where the thinking is, the back of the head right here, right? So he says, this is the Father speaking, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. It's a declaration of Adonai. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. So my word will be that goes forth from my mouth. It will not return to me in vain. It will accomplish what I intend, and it will succeed in what I have sent it for. And so the Holy One that is what he said in Isaiah 55. That prophetic, that messianic prophetic word that came forth, it was going to accomplish everything that he sent it to do, right? That he sent the word to do every single thing. And what he's calling us to do is to be set apart. He's calling us to have the back of our heads, our sphere of influence, our place where we have strategies and intentions, the back of our heads. That is the place that needs to be set apart. So we're thinking differently. He says, my thoughts aren't your thoughts. So he's calling us up to start thinking his thoughts. That's what Pinchas did. Pinchas was thinking the thoughts of the Holy One. And this is passion, but it is not passion of our thoughts being passionate, of us saying, I'm demanding what should be the right thing to do. I'm demanding what's moral. I'm going to hit you with the Bible because you need to listen to God. And it's not that at all. That is not zealousness. That's passion, but it's coming from a place that is promoting self. That is not what Pinchas did. It was not his passion or his verve for right and wrong. It was his passion for seeing the fulfillment of the covenant of God accomplished in the earth. His people were being taken they were being taken out of the plan of God for their lives. That's why Moses rose up and said, all right, you're going to have to kill your brothers now. You have to kill the ones that are saying that are polluting you and pulling you out of what is your destiny.
Brenda, we'll never know the answer to this, but I wonder if Pinchas would have felt the same way had Moses not said. Like there was almost a permission,
a unity. There was a unity, I think.
Yeah. But a permission, so he knew he was acting in accordance with what Moses had said, knowing that Moses was the voice of the Most High for the people.
Yeah. Moses was the king. Okay. So Moses was the king. He was the one that was in charge. What he said went. And Pinchas was from Aaron, who was the priest, who was the one who kept things holy, kept the things holy that were called to be holy, setting things apart. That's what the priests do, right? And bringing us, the people, into that holy place. That's what the priests do. They draw us and bring us into so that we're part of the holiness of God. They take us out of what's common and bring us into what's holy. And that's what Pinchas was doing, pulling the people out of what was common, shaking them up, pulling them out and putting them right in front of what was the Holy One was saying was holy. Isn't that something?
That is something.
Man,
So my comment, my comment about Moses, one of the
Tell
things
me.
I was one of the things I was thinking was, he was responding in obedience. And that's what we're called to do in this world, is respond in obedience to the word.
Yeah.
That is what sets us apart. And that can be a really hard thing, because the world is often a lot of false teachings. And we know that scriptures say, in the last days, evil is going to be called good and good's going to be called evil. So there can be confusion on some of those things. Like we said, what was the deal? Balaam seemed to be doing all the right things, but his heart was wicked. And then you've got Pinchas over here, who went out and, took a spear and plunged it through somebody. But it was declared righteous, but it comes from the heart. But I think the other thing is thinking through like obedience, which does come from the heart, but this is about obedience. And I wrote down, Pinchas was committed to God's position and was willing to fight for it. And I know in my prayer time this week, I asked myself that. We come up against things every single day that challenge us in our culture, whether we should do them or shouldn't do them, or who we should be in relationship with and who we shouldn't be in relationship with. And we know that Hasatan in the garden, all he had to do was change a word. It's this little bit of deceit that can cause us to be distracted, but having our eyes on the goal of obedience, obedience to the Torah specifically, that is what sets us apart, and to be able to fight for the things of the Most High in a way that is viewed as righteous, because it's not a personal agenda in any way.
Right. Exactly. It's not. So how did Pinchas get to this place of zealousness for the things of the Holy One?
Well, one of the things I was thinking about was, I don't know how old he was specifically, but I'm thinking through, what did he witness? Did he witness the manna falling from the sky? Did he witness the parting of the Red Sea? Did he witness all of the miracles and all of the things that happened? Did he see some of the wrath that occurred, where it was part of, for us, it's reading the word and knowing the word and understanding the word. But if you lived it, you'd get to that point where, this is going to come out wrong, but I can't think of how else to say it. You almost have to pick a side, these people are going over here, and what are you going to do? You're watching, you're seeing the wrath, you're seeing the blessings, you're seeing all the things that have been happening your whole life. He's probably grown up and they said he was a young man. So I'm like, was he 20? Like, what does that mean? Did he see the whole 40 years of the wilderness? Was that considered young? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. But what we do know is that he was a Levitical priest. And so he was raised by Aaron and by his father Eleazar to be the defender of the Holy of Holies, to be the defender of the tabernacle. So he was one who was it. For me, what zealous means, my understanding of what zealous means, it's the energy that comes from that intimate relationship with the Holy One, where the Holy One's heart and desire comes through you. It's not where you rise up in passion and you're screaming and yelling and, you're saying no more from your own self, but it's that passion that comes from the throne room of God. Now, the other thing is that we see that there was death here involved. God is God. He is the king, the sovereign one. He's created all the people. If he says that it's time for someone's life to end, then that is his call.
Yes.
And I do believe that because of what Pinchas did, and because of the word tells us here, what it says here, and then Adonai spoke to Moshe. Okay, so now here, this just happened, right? And then God himself speaks. And whenever he speaks, we need to listen. What he's saying is important. And it says, he spoke to Moses saying, Pinchas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the Kohen, has turned away my anger from Bnei Israel. because he was very zealous for me
Yes.
among them, so that I did not put an end to B'nai Israel in my zeal. Okay, so the word there in Hebrew is shuv. It is the word for repentance, where we get the word repentance from. And so what Adonai is saying to Moses is, because Pinchas turned away, he turned away my anger. He turned away the judgment that God had to have righteously. Because if this has continued to go on, what's going to happen? If we're continued to allow, if we are continued to be allowed to do what we're doing away from him, we're going to be completely taken out of his plan and purpose. This is the children of Israel. The plan and purpose of God is to take them into the Holy Land, so that their seed and all the generations for all time will worship the one true God. This is his plan and his purpose. And what is happening right here is trying to pull the people, just like in today's world, pull the people out of their purpose.
Yes.
It is so mixed up and confused and so filled with our own emotions and our own rage and our own anger and our own desires and our own needs for, I need this and I need that, all these things that we have need of, that our eyes are so completely off of the Holy One that we are no longer even part of the plan of God for this earth, to redeem this earth and to redeem the people. And so something has to stop. And so the Holy One is like, well, strategically, he will strike, just as he did in Egypt. Strategically, he didn't kill everybody. He strategically there was a strategic strike. Say that 3 times. That was going on in order to bring about repentance. It's always about bringing about redemption, always. And that's what this was. That's what was happening right here. And Pinchas was filled with the heart of God, because he was in the presence of God day in and day out, focusing his attention upon the things of God.
I feel like this is a good place to bring up the broken Vav.
Okay, talk to me.
Oh, you want me to talk to the Hebrew teacher about this? Okay,
yes.
Here's my disclaimer for anyone who's new on this call, new to Torah, you don't know Hebrew. I know nothing either, but I don't want to be afraid to have the conversations, because this is the safe place. If you can't have the conversation here, you can't have it anywhere. There's no judgment. If you've got questions, put them in the chat. Here is me being vulnerable in front of people that I know Hebrew, like Brenda and Sambra and others. But I was so amazed at this, because I had simply listened to someone say, well, the Vav is broken. And I'm like, okay, just stop everything. I don't even know what else he's going to say next, but I need to understand, when a Hebrew letter is broken, what does it mean? Because apparently this only happens a couple times throughout the entire Torah, where there is a letter that is either enlarged or broken or something. And it's there because you're supposed to stop and pause and think. And so, knowing nothing about Hebrew, I've taken half of Brenda's alphabet course, but I really need to go back and do it again, because it's so good, but there's so much. Like,
did you get through Vav? Did you get through Vav yet?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, keep going. I'm so excited. Tell me.
Okay, so let me just, and Brenda, stop and interject anything, because I'm going to give you like the 60-second Gen version, which is going to be really
awesome.
Basic. So in verse 12, it says, see, I am giving him my covenant of peace. So obviously, if you look at that in the Hebrew, peace is shalom. And let's see if I get this right. So it is a shin, lamed, vav, and mem.
That's right.
Shalom, okay. So what we see is that the Vav is broken at the top, and it looks like it was, well, sometimes it's not intentional. I was told that sometimes I have to go back and rewrite the scrolls because it's the ink, but this was intentional, which made it a big deal. So, hang on, I got to go to my page where I actually have some stuff written about this. Okay.
I just love this. I'm so excited.
I really feel like this is the kindergarten version, but I'm still okay with it. So intentional fracturing of a letter is something to pay attention to. It could possibly mean that that Pinchas covenant of peace is incomplete. There's a lot of different opinions. The sages have different opinions on this.
Yeah.
It could be that the broken vav is occasionally peace must be broken for a higher purpose, such as resisting a dangerous enemy. And the third one is that peace achieved through violence is an incomplete peace. So here's where I went with that. I kind of read that, I wrote it all down. The word shalom, if you remove the vav, is another Hebrew word, and it's shalem. And shalom is peace. Shalem is wholeness. The broken vav could mean that Sambra's listening so intently right now, I can see her face.
So good.
The broken vav could mean it's meant to be in or out, which could together mean peace and wholeness. But we look at this, I looked at this as most definitely a foreshadowing of Messiah, because what Pinchas did was because of his actions, and there was a shedding of blood, not of an innocent, but there was a shedding of blood. He made atonement for the people. We see that because the plague stopped, and 24,000 have been killed. But in that one act of righteousness, because of his heart, it stopped. So we can look at that and we can say, well, what other righteous man through the shedding of blood created the atonement for people?
Exactly.
And so I was thinking of the Vav as, well, my first thought before I did a lot of studying was, could it be that like the spear went through the Vav in terms of Pinchas and what he did? Or could it be that it was Messiah on the cross and the shed blood, his broken body that broke the Vav? So I know that this is my ending here. So we talk about what it's between, because Brenda, I think you taught me that Vav is a connector.
Yeah, it's a joiner.
Right?
Yep.
So if we're connecting Lamed and Mem, Lamed is authority, royalty, being upright, and
Instruction,
the
teaching.
The Mem is chaos and water. So I'm going to let you summarize that, Brenda, because I don't know how to make a word picture out of that.
Well, that's really good. So actually, Sambra, if you want to jump in there, I would be delighted to have you jump in. You already posted it here.
I've looked it up in my Tanakh, and unfortunately, it's not broken in my Tanakh, which made me very, very sad.
Aww. Do you have the stones? Is it the?
I don't have. No, I have the JPS.
Okay, got it.
But what I'm seeing in terms of picture is, if that vav, which is supposed to be the connection, so shalom means to destroy the authority of chaos, and if that vav is not, the vav is broken, that thing that's holding it all together is broken. Therefore, you can't keep the peace, which is exactly what you said, Jen. That thing that's holding it all together, holding the peace together, can't hold.
It can't hold. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that was one of the sages' perspective. It's like incomplete peace. It's not, so yes, it will not hold.
Well,
so something else has to come and permanently hold the peace.
Right. So it's kind of like when we make a peace agreement between Israel and Gaza and try and make the, you know, like no more bombs or no more rockets and stuff, but then it can't hold, because the only way to really make the peace hold is to destroy that which is causing the chaos.
Yes.
And without saying that out loud, that's one of those things, like you said about Pinchas, like sometimes what's good is Pinchas had to kill Cosby and Zimri.
Right.
And we don't like to think that killing is actually the path to peace.
Right.
Because that doesn't sit right. But it is.
Right. Right. In extreme circumstances, it has to be. And that's why the Holy One doesn't just willy-nilly destroy people. It's always strategic. It's always minimum amount of force for the optimum result. always.
Yeah.
And that is, thank you, Sombra, by the way.
So most people don't have the broken vows. So now that just leads me to question.
No, yeah, no, well, no, but in the scroll itself, it's broken. It's just our
Gotcha.
duplications. Some of them are not, but the stones is. But okay, so first of all, the broken vav being that thing that joins together, being broken. I love that. Huge. That's huge. The other thing is that the word tells us that for all time now, Pinchas, and we're just, oh my goodness, how much are we going to get done today? Like
I know.
four verses.
We need 3 hours.
It says, so now say, see, I am making with him a covenant of shalom, which is what you were reading.
Yeah.
It will be, this is verse 13, it will be for him and his descendants after him a covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was zealous for his God and atoned for Bnei Israel. All right.
See, that sounds
We
like
look at,
Yeshua.
it is, when we look
That's
at
Yeshua.
Moses, we're seeing the king that's ruling the people, right? We're seeing an image of God himself caring for and loving his people, gathering them together and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're doing it. Okay. So we're seeing Moses in that role. We're seeing Aaron. We've seen Aaron. We're not seeing him now, but we were seeing Aaron as the role of priest. Now his son Eleazar is the priest, and Pinchas is in that line. So he's next in line. Okay. So we're seeing them bringing the people, going in and grabbing the people. These, you know, the Levitical priests, they're the ones that are scraping off the ashes from our sin offerings and taking those and taking the ashes and putting them away. They're the ones that are getting their hands dirty. They're the ones that are covering us. Who else is doing that, right? And then we see Miriam, who was the prophetess, who was the voice, the song, the one crying out, the one that the water was with, right? The water flowed with her. She was the prophetess over the nation. So we see this 3-strand cord here of Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. Now Miriam's gone. Aaron's gone. Moses is getting ready to go. This is all being passed on to the next generation. So Pinchas is rising up with the zealousness that will take the children of Israel into the land and teach them the ways of the king. Joshua's going to take over from Moses, right? And this is what is going to train us up and teach us how to be separate and set apart and holy unto the Father, unto him, unto the King of Kings, right? Pinchas was an example of Yeshua Messiah on the cross. That's what he did. Death, where's your sting? Right?
Yeah.
That's what Yeshua did. He took it upon himself to become the atonement for our sins. And it says here that Pinchas atoned for the sins by his actions. It was a foreshadow of Yeshua. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah. So whenever we're reading the Torah, guys, you know this, you know this, but whenever we're reading it, it is history. It is things that actually occurred, but it's not only literal, it's also what's happening. What is God doing? How is he speaking? But it's also, how does he relate it to us today? How do we walk this out? How does the covenant become something that we become zealous for? Not passionate in that we're looking and judging with our eyes what's right and wrong. See, that just gets us into trouble. Judging with our eyes of what is right and wrong and putting those on other people, that is not bringing them into the spirit, the ruach. What we want to do is like what Pinchas did. You do that very thing that is burning in the heart of God. And that's what we do. Not just running our mouth off and arguing with people, telling them that they're wrong, beating them over the head with the Bible. That's not doing anybody any good. but living your life, putting your foot on the path, honoring the Shabbat, it doesn't mean you're perfect. Moses wasn't perfect. Aaron wasn't perfect. Miriam wasn't perfect. Pinchas wasn't perfect. None of these people were perfect. But what they're showing us is that when we put our feet on the path, that's when we start being able to operate this is the whole purpose of this. This is when we're starting to operate in his covenants, in his ways. It doesn't have to be done perfectly. It just needs to be done. That sounds terrible, but it's really true. Just do it. Just do it.
I keep thinking, Brenda, last week, I think, I can't remember if it was on the portion or where it was, but you were talking about how obedience just like changes the atmosphere. And I think we see that thread continue through this portion as well, that this zeal, being zealous for obedience and to honor the Most High being the primary way in which we function, react, and respond. It changes the atmosphere. Look at how much it changed it for Israel. Like the Most High's wrath was turned because of his obedience to what he heard Moses say, like these people have to go. Not that we should run out and do that in violence or anything, but I think what you're saying is sometimes in the little things, sometimes in our interaction with people, one thing I think that comes up a lot, and I just sent Charlie a vlog for this to potentially share with everyone, but sometimes we get angry over people not understanding what we're doing, where we're at, following Torah, like, why can't they just see it? Why can't they just start doing it with me, whether it's family members or whatever? I know I have a lot of that, but it isn't necessarily a righteous indignation if we come at people like, well, if you're not keeping Shabbat, you're going to hell, or, anything like we have to walk it out in love. We have to, and I think Sambra wrote something up here about love. What did you write, Sambra? I read it and I'm like, oh, I want to remember that, but now I can't remember it.
I said zealous. Zealous doesn't mean being a Torah terrorist. Zealous means love.
Yes,
exactly. Of loving.
Exactly, Sambra.
When we're zealous for something, we're doing everything from a place of love. Love and honor to the Most High, like that's the priority. Love to others, honor to the Most High. And that's how we walk our journey, despite the world around us being in chaos and wanting us to go into something else. We have to turn our eyes from that. And someone else said Tammuz, the month of eyes. We're just in this time where we have to have our eyes focused in the right direction.
Which is the perfect segue into the next part, where there's a numbering of the generation. There's a numbering of the generation. Why did they have to take another census? What was the purpose of that? Did God not know how many people were there after the plague? Did they not know? Well, what had to happen was the people's eyes had to once again be focused upward. They had to raise their heads. What does it mean to take a census? It means to count the head. And they didn't count, we won't get into that, but counting the head means to lift your head up. Okay. So you're putting your focus back on what needs to be your focus. And then the amount of people, that is how they distribute the wealth of the land in Israel, in the land, according to the number of the people. And one of the things I wanted to mention to you, since we really haven't gotten very far, but one of the things I wanted to mention to you is that a lot of people think that if you're not native born, that you don't have a stake in the inheritance of the land. But it says I think it's in Ezekiel 47, I think it says, but anyway, it talks about that the portion of the land was given to the foreigner and those who had joined to the covenant, not only the native born, because remember when all of the tribes were in the wilderness, and then the Holy One said, now I want you to go and align with your tribes. Well, the foreigners didn't have a tribe. So they had to be supernaturally, the Holy One had to tell them and reveal to them who their tribe was, and that's who they went with. And they joined with them, and they got an inheritance of the land. Isn't that amazing? I just want you to understand what the whole spirit of adoption is about.
Yeah.
You are not left out. So, and then also the daughters. So we have the numbering of the generations. We have the portioning off of the land that's going to be portioned off according to the number of the people, how big their tribes were, how big the group was. That was according to, and we have that all in chapter 26. Let me get my glasses. I think that's right. Chapter 26, right? And it talks about all of the different people, how to divide the land, how to divide the inheritance. Then something really interesting happens. Another thing, another worldview gets smashed and crushed here. I just love it so much. The daughters
this is a whole another hour right here, Brenda.
I know. The daughters of Zelophehad are like, well, hey, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, can we, what about us? There's no sons. Dad just had daughters. What about us? We're passionate for the land too. We want to be part of this. And I love it. And Moses goes, well, let me ask the Holy One about that. And so he does. And what does the Holy One tell him? He tells him that if this happens, if a man dies without a son, this is where this whole thing of people, people being mistreated because of who they are, what their background is, where they've come, if they're a male or a female. In the world's eye view, they are pushed down, stepped upon, used for pleasure instead of being revered as a precious creature of God that is valuable. That's what's being taken care of here. You see that? It's not just, you might say, I'm not one of those. I'm not a native born. I met Yeshua and I fell in love with him and I've joined my heart to him, but I'm not a native born. So none of these things apply to me. And the Holy One's saying, no. When you're my child fully and completely. And that means if male or female, Jew or Gentile. And so that is being shattered here. Those concepts, those ideas, that separation, that segregation. See, whenever you have a setting apart, there's a setting apart. Think about the kof. There's the top part where the head's at, and then the vav, right, that comes up next to it. It's a joining together. The separation can be a fleshly separation, which will divide and destroy, or the separation that the Spirit of God does, which is to divide in order to bring together, in order to bring unity. There's a division, a setting apart in order to bring unity. Setting yourself apart to be holy is setting yourself apart in order to bring unity. Shalom is wholeness, wellness, completeness, total care, 100% of everything that is needed, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, everything. That's shalom. It's wholeness. It's not fractured. The broken shalom is fractured, division, bringing brother against brother, bringing sister against sister, bringing sister against brother, bringing the nations against Israel. See, that's the brokenness. That's the fracturing. That's what needs to be healed. But he's saying a covenant of peace, which is bringing together. And so who's he bringing together? Not just B'nai Israel, the native borns, but B'nai Israel, the ones who have joined together, the ones who have said, yes, I will, the ones who have put the wedding ring on and are honoring the Shabbat. That's the wedding ring, by the way, if you guys don't know that. That's the wedding ring. That's this thing right here. It's saying, I'm different, I'm married, I'm taken. That's what it is. And so here we go. Now the women are being brought in. Why? And then he says, go marry whoever you want to. Go marry him. I think it says it at the very end. Yeah, go marry them. Just make sure that they're in the tribe so that the land is staying where the land needs to stay. You don't want to give up the land. You want the land to stay in the tribe it's supposed to stay in, because there was inheritance, spiritually inheritance for the people, the tribes that were being assigned the pieces of land. There's purpose and a plan for the land itself and for what God is doing in that tribe. So he didn't want the tribes fractured. He wanted the tribes together. So that's why he said for you to go and marry within the tribes, but marry, and that way the land will stay there. It won't be divided off and given to somebody else.
If we don't have a lot of time to get into this, I just want to encourage people that Gail's portion this week, her Parsha point in the cafe, addresses this beautifully. And, you know, she is the ancient Northeast expert and
ancient Near East. Yeah, she sure is.
She really gets into some good depth about the culture. And just to give it a quick snippet of what she said, just to, you know, put it into context for people. Yeah, you have to understand the boldness that these women had, that culturally they weren't really allowed to be out, seen, heard. They were pretty much required to stay close to their tent other than certain conditions, but they certainly, this was a pretty daring and bold move that they did.
Yes, it was.
You know, for them to go and even ask for this, but they knew what was right. And so here they are. I feel like this is a whole nother, you know, story of zealousness. Like, yes, they had well, first off, a love for their father and their lineage, that even though he died in the wilderness in his sins, they did not think it was right that his name was completely erased for all the future generations. And so they had this zealousness about wanting what was right as well. And they approached the elders or whoever, you know, and brought this forward as something to consider. But that would have been culturally like, whoa, what are they doing? So I love that to me, the whole Torah portion had all these stories of just the zealousness running through it. And these people who wanted to give honor, do the right thing. Yes, honor their father, claim their inheritance. They didn't want anyone to feel like they could take it away from them.
Yes.
The inheritance was theirs. It was theirs. And they did not to just say, oh yeah, I don't deserve that inheritance. Never mind. I'm just going to shy away. They were like, that inheritance is mine. And they were zealous for that inheritance and they went after it. And that's how we should be with our inheritance.
Yeah. Be passionate for the things of God, passionate for them. And these women were passionate for the vision, the hope, the expectation of living in the land that God had delivered them from and into. He was going to take them into the land. This hadn't happened yet. They're right on the verge. They're getting ready to cross over. And the women are saying, these daughters of Zelophehad are saying, but we've got that burning passion. We have that burning passion for the land. How beautiful that it is another way for the Holy One to say, this is what I think about my people, and this is what I consider to be justice, and this is what I consider to be good. So there you go.
Gail had written that I thought was really great was, she said, the zeal of the daughters repaired the breaches committed by the men in regards to the land. So I think she was talking about the spies. The daughters teach us that we can redeem those who are faithless. Actually, this isn't from Gail. I have this quote, but it's from the, oh, you can't see it because I got a
Taste of Torah. Oh, yeah.
That's where that came from. This is because underneath Gail's. But think about redeeming those who didn't have the faith. You know, people that just messed up, but just on their behalf, we can help to create redemption there.
Yes, absolutely. I love this. I have this too.
Yep,
I got it this year.
Yep.
I love it too. Awesome. Yes. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So much stuff.
I love that Chris said 2646 Asher's daughter Sarah is named in there, and I love it too. And you know what, Chris, is so funny because that hit me this morning and I'm like, oh, I didn't get any time to, I need to find her. I need to find some history on her. I need to find out who she was and what was going on with her. Yeah, I love that too, because in verse 46, it mentions her name, and I just love it. The name of Asher's daughter was Sarah. So
Brenda,
yeah.
when I looked up that, it said something about her being the daughter of another man. So it wasn't actually directly Asher's daughter or something.
Okay.
And so she didn't have an inheritance because the other man didn't have any sons, but I wasn't clear on any of that.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I didn't even have a chance to look it up, but I just knew that it tickled something inside of me. And I was like, got to find some more out about that. Thank you, Chris. I love that. Don't you just love this? Every time you read this Torah portion, it doesn't matter how many times you've read it. You just read it and it's like, oh my gosh, what about that? What about that? I know that Charlie's favorite story is about the daughters of Zelophehad. I know that that's her thing. I'm sad that she's not here with us this week because she just loves this part. So then we have the commissioning of Joshua.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And you know what I love about this is that Moses did not take for granted that because Joshua had been his disciple this entire time. He was, well, he was on Mount Sinai. He was like, I'm sticking with you. And Moses is like, okay, well, just stay right here for right now. But he was like, whatever you do, I'm doing. I'm with you. I'm for you. I want it as much as you. He was the one that wasn't leaving the tent. He was the one that was staying in the presence of the Holy One. But Moses didn't take it for granted that that was who God had chosen. So he came before the Holy One and he said, Father, will you raise up the one who is to take my place, the one who is to lead these people? Who do you have that is going to lead these people and take my place? Because Moses knew that his time was done. He knew that he was on very limited time, which is the book of Devarim that we're going to be going into in 2 weeks. He's going to give the Reader's Digest version of the entire Torah, right? He's going to just put it all in there, jam packed. And but he didn't take for granted that that's who the Holy One was going to choose. And he asked the Holy One, who is it? Who is it that you are saying needs to raise these people up? And the Holy One told him.
Brenda?
Yeah.
There's a question on Facebook from Denise. She says, can we help create redemption for our adult children who made poor life choices? Is that also what you meant?
Yes. Can I just say that this is coming from me. When we honor and obey, and when I mean obey, I'm not talking about, I'm talking about obeying, hearing, shemaing the voice of God and letting it stir you up and change who you are and you walk it out. Okay. That's what I'm talking about when I say obey. When we do that, when we honor the things that he says to honor, which is the next page, turn it in your Bibles. It's the next page, the appointed times. He's saying these are the appointed times. This is what I'm telling you to do. When we do that, sister, we are setting into place. We are connecting to our generations, healing and restoration, forgiveness, redemption. You realize that it isn't with your mouth and the words that you say, it's with how you're living out the Torah in your life. Does it have to be done perfectly? Absolutely not. That's never been the requirement. What the requirement is that you live it out. That's the requirement, is that you put your feet to it. You put your feet upon the path. He said that his word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Well, if it was all, if all we had to do was just believe it in our hearts, we wouldn't need a lamp. No, there's still darkness around us. We need the lamp to light the way. We need the light to illuminate. It's that. Put your feet to it. What is he saying to you? Read his word. Father, what do I need to embrace in this? How do I honor you? How do I walk in your ways? How do I do that? every day, because when we do that, we are setting our families up for restoration,
Yes.
redemption, healing. That's what shalom is. We have been given this covenant of peace. We have been given this. How do we embrace it in our home? When the sun goes down, honor the Sabbath. What does that look like? God will explain it to you. He'll show you how to do it. It's not going to look like everybody else's. That's okay. It's not going to be perfect. That's perfectly fine. Put your feet to it. You honor it. You set it apart. You say, yes, I will. He said, these are my appointed times. The Sabbath, the new moon, the festivals. These are my appointed times for all generations, for all time. Now that's including the foreigners, okay? That's not just for the native born. B'nai Israel is not just the native born. It is everyone who is in covenant with the King of Kings.
Yes.
And so that's where we participate, sister. That's where we participate in the redemption of our families, our adult children, our parents, our grandparents, our aunts and uncles, our nieces and nephews, those that are not walking in the way. We participate in that redemption being brought forth by us obeying and honoring the ways of the King. Remember, we talked about this last week. Never, 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 maybe it was at the conference, I don't remember. Never, 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 never take it for granted when you honor anything that the Holy One says for you to do. When you set apart the Shabbat, when you say, Father, I don't know how to do this, but it's a holy day. You said it's a holy day. It's to be set apart. I'm going to set it apart. I'm going to do the very best I can. It'll be better next week. I'll figure out better ways and more ways, and I'll embrace it even more. But right now, I'm just going to do the very best that I can. That is honoring his way. And he will bring shalom to you and to your generations. That's his economy. That's how he does it. And we have tons of proof of that all the time. We see it all the time. Our friend Linda Millet's on here. Her and her husband started walking this way out, and her children started coming back and coming back and coming back and being delivered and being set free from bondages that are generational bondages, being set free over and over again. But it's not just set free for a moment, but set free for life. And now their children are set free. It's amazing to see how this works. This is God's economy. So yes, you get to participate in that. And yes, your obedience changes the world. Why? Because when you are in alignment with the Holy One, you're in alignment, and the earth becomes in alignment where your feet are. Your feet are stepping on the ground. The earth is becoming into alignment. You have that sphere of influence. The divine heart of God dwells within you. His presence dwells within you. Be a world changer. Affect the atmosphere around you. Walk in obedience. Walk in his ways. Do the best that you can, and you'll figure out the rest as you go. Does that sound
and Denise,
stupid?
I'll say,
it's true.
First off, Brenda, that was fabulous and inspiring, and thank you for that Ruach-filled word. A lot of us are living that right now with families, I'm sure. And I'm not doing it for that reason, but I'm trusting because we know his promises are true.
Yes.
That we just hold on to that, and we just keep walking it out no matter what, but we trust that there is a household premise over this journey. And maybe 20 years from now, who knows? But we trust it regardless of whether we see it right now.
But that's God's responsibility, not ours,
Absolutely,
right?
100%.
Our responsibility is to do what we're told to do.
Yes.
Do it with zealousness. Do it because the Spirit of God is speaking life to you and stirring the flame within you, and you can't not do it. Okay. Right. But listen, start off by being obedient. Start off by doing it because that's what he said to do. It is written that you are to do that. So start off doing it that way. And then as it becomes such a pleasure and such a life-changing thing for you, it'll change your atmosphere. And that's what's going to change the atmosphere of your home. Okay? It's not you beating people up because they're not doing the right thing. It's you putting your feet to it. Wow, isn't that the most exciting thing ever? The most exciting thing ever. That's how we can train up the next generation. That's how we can actually be effective in our communities, by walking in that. I'm telling you what, it is the most amazing, it is the most amazing thing. And
Amber's got her hand up, Brenda. I don't know if you can see
yes,
that.
yes, go sissy, go.
Okay, so on the subject of paths, I was standing out praying the other day, and I have this pad where my pool used to be, so it's just, you know, gravel, whatever. And the dog was under the lilac bush, and the dog came out into the pad where I was, so this little clearing. And then the dog could have left the pad from any direction, but the dog followed a path. And, you know, when we think, okay, well, I have to learn this new thing, it feels weird to me. It feels like walking in the tall grass. But if you walk in that tall grass over and over and over again, it becomes a path. And then the thing is, we're not really walking alone in the tall grass. We're following the path that has gone before us. That path is well worn. And when we start walking that path, it becomes well worn with our feet. It becomes habit, and it becomes easy to stay in because it's the rut. It's your habit. It's what you become. So when it says, you know, that all our paths are peace, the concept of a path has really just struck me the last few days. It's like walking in a path. And like I said, my lawn is really long right now. I'm using a scythe to cut it all down so I can make hay. But my lawn is really long. But you can see all these paths that the dogs take, all the paths that the cats take, the path that Asher takes to get to the chicken coop. You know who's walked these paths. It's so cool. And there's no reason why you couldn't walk like 6 inches or 7 inches, 12 feet that way, because there's nothing to interrupt them. But everybody walks on the paths. It's so cool.
A well-worn path, that's the derek in Hebrew. It's a well-worn path because we're following in the footsteps of those that have come before us. So thank you. Chris, you have your mic off. Did you want to say something too? Oh, go ahead.
That's what Yaakov means too. We use the word supplanter, and it makes it sound like Yaakov's this bad guy. But when you supplant, that means you put your foot in the same spot that somebody else does. Like when you're walking in the snow, you're walking in somebody else's footsteps. So that's what Jacob means. Okay, sorry, bye.
Oh, I love that. Okay, Chris.
I just wanted to read the comments from Facebook.
Yes, please.
So Denise responded back from your response that she's nodding the whole time you're speaking. Your precious sister, thank you. She strives to do that with all her heart, to walk in all his ways and honor his set apart times in Torah.
Yes.
That's what my children need, to be set free from bondages. I'm so encouraged by you. Marcia says, yes, this is happening in my family. He's such a good father. Patty says, I love how you present the Holy One's word. Encouraging. So everybody's loving you.
Oh, great. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. I'm so glad that we're here together to just, Jen, thank you so much. Sombra, Chris, thank you so much for just jumping in with me today. It's such a blessing to be able to just share. It's not, if we can do nothing else but just explain how much he loves you and how much he's for you.
Yes.
And how much, no matter what it is, we just continue the cycle, right? So we've learned in the last few weeks that we have things that come up that we just are like crazy, like what in the world? Some things we can understand, some things we can't. Sometimes we have to just do it because we said so. Like we teach our kids, I know you don't understand that, that if you stick a butter knife in the electrical outlet, that the electricity will come out and throw you across the room. This is a conversation I had with my son, by the way.
No.
Oh yes, when he was 3. And he didn't believe me. So he ran across the room and stuck that butter knife in the socket before I could and he flew across the room. And I said, now, I thought, well, first, let me check to see, making sure he's not dead. He wasn't dead. So it stunned him. And he got up and then he ran back to do it again. Oh. So all I can say is this was my life as a mother. But But the thing is that what we want, sometimes what we need to do is just say, because I said so, and that's what the Holy One does. He says, I don't need to explain this to you. There's some things that you need to trust me, that my ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. Some things you're going to just have to trust me on. Now, the other things, I want you to dig. The other things is it's your delight to dig in and find out and research and search and pant after. You know, as a deer pants after the water, so my soul pants after you. There's that too, right? It doesn't mean that we have to know everything. We
Right.
don't, but we need to stir each other up. We need to stir each other up. We need to see that divine spark within each one of us and within those that are not walking in the ways of the Holy One, and speak to that. Father, resurrect that which has been sleeping and slumbering. Resurrect tonight at Shabbat sundown. Let's pray that over our families. Father, resurrect those sparks that are dim right now. Fan the flame, Father. Bring forth your word in such a way that they will begin yearning for you, that they will come after you, that my sons and my nieces and nephews, or my sons and my all the male children in the families, will be like Ephraim and Manasseh. They will run towards the things of God. They will leave behind everything of the world, every value of the world. They will leave those things behind to turn and become part of who you have called them to be. Leave behind the ways of Egypt. Leave behind the money of the world. Leave behind those things and turn and say, I will join with you. That's what Ephraim and Manasseh did. That's what we want our sons to do, to join with him. We want our daughters to be like Rachel and Rebecca. We want them to be ones who say, no matter what, I'm going to serve you. No matter how hard it is, no matter how long I have to go without having my prayers answered, I'm going to serve you because I know that you
Right.
are my one true God. And that's how we pray for our kids. And it doesn't mean that we have to say it out loud with words. I would say, yes, say it out loud with words as often as you can, in a way that is understandable to them at whatever level they're at. But even more than saying it with words is live the life. Why do you have peace? Let them ask you that. Why do you have shalom? I know that you lost your job, Mom. I know that things are rough for you and Dad. Why do you have peace? Oh, let me tell you. And then you can tell them about why you have peace. Then you can tell them why you're trusting God. Then you can tell them the goodness of the Holy One. Share that with them instead of just saying, well, you're not going to church, or you're not reading your Bible, you're not doing things right. It's not so effective.
Mm-mm.
But what is effective is loving them and walking it out so that they
Yes.
get to see you and they can follow your path. I love what Somber said, that her dog was making that path. You know how dogs are so cool. They always make a path. They'll just find a way, and they'll just wear that grass down no matter what. It's usually not where you want it to be, but they'll find a way. They'll do it. But that's the well-worn path. We want to walk in such a way that we have a well-worn path that we are leaving behind. That's why we say the fragrance of Messiah. When we walk, we should be releasing the fragrance of Messiah, not just releasing do this and don't do this, but releasing the fragrance of Messiah. Like, why wouldn't they want to follow? Why wouldn't they want to be part of this? Why wouldn't they want to have peace that surpasses their understanding? Why wouldn't they, in the midst of the craziness of this world, why wouldn't they want to have a place of respite to come on a Friday night and have dinner at your house? Why wouldn't they? Because you're offering them shalom. You're offering them peace. You're changing the atmosphere of your home. Yeah, you get to do that. It's precious. So, how are we doing? Oh, we
Ooh,
are we are. My alarm's going to go off in a minute. My ding dong, ding dong.
yeah,
Yep, it's going to go off in
yeah,
a minute. But
that's
any other
really
questions,
powerful.
ladies, real quick, and then we will go into our after party. Some of these comments, ladies, thank you so much. Your comments are precious.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep up on them, and it's hard, but I'm really encouraged by
Yeah.
the sisters who are posting
Yes.
that since they've
Torah
come to
is our
Torah,
delight.
they
I love that, Mary Catherine.
family. Um, you know, lots of encouragement. Yeah, and a lot of people having issues where they're, you know, needing family to be awakened.
Yes. And we always will. And we always will. And that's part of the privilege of walking this way, walking in his ways. Part of the privilege is that we get to trust that he is sovereign and he knows the times and the seasons. So he puts them, we didn't even get into it, but in the Torah, in the next chapter, talks about the times and the seasons, Shabbat, the new moon, all the feasts and festivals. These are the things that we're supposed to, let me find it here, that we're supposed to be walking in and honoring. Don't beat yourself up. It's a waste of time. If you don't know how to do it, find somebody who knows a little bit more than you. That's what this community is all about. Call Sombra.
Yeah,
she knows all this stuff.
Don't condemn your friends who aren't walking it out perfectly. Nope. Encourage them, but also don't condemn yourself if you're not walking it out perfectly.
Exactly.
Because what you need to do is encourage yourself to keep on walking.
Hey, David was a great self-talker. Oh, my soul, why are you cast down within me? He got it. He was a great self-talker. I don't have a problem with that at all. I talk to myself all the time. Oh, Brenda, knock it off. Come on. You know better than that. You're going to do it better next time. Don't worry about it. Come on. Get out of that. Don't be in a pity party. It's a waste of time, guys. Just a waste of time. We don't have that much time left. We need to
that's hard. That's hard when you're new because you do feel a lot of pressure. But the reality is, as someone who, you know, I've not done fall feast yet, so this will be my first year. I don't have it figured out yet. I have a couple pictures of a little Sukkot tent that I think I'm going to have my husband build.
Fantastic.
But I don't have, you know, I'm still reading and learning, and yeah, I'll be messaging Sombra and other people and, you know, getting ideas, and it's okay because I'm probably not going to do it the way everyone does it. And, you know, the first time I did Shabbat, I just sat around all day because I hadn't really know what to do. And I think we pray on it, and he does reveal, and it's a process. You know, he reveals a little bit each time on how he wants us to respond and what he wants us to do. And we trust that because it's not about perfection. We keep saying this, it's about the heart, right? It's about the heart.
Yeah, it is. And we need to keep saying it because sometimes we don't, you know, we hear it, but we don't really shema it. So we hear people say it's not about perfection, and then it comes to Shabbat and we didn't get the crumbs in the cabinet, and we pull out the toaster, there's crumbs all over the cabinet, and or the floor's dirty, or one of the garbages in the bathroom didn't get emptied, and then all of a sudden we beat ourselves up. And that's like, stop wasting your time with that. Focus on what is the purpose of this. It is to get ready, it's to get excited, it's to be anticipating time with your King.
Mary Catherine, did you have a question? Your hand was just up a second ago.
I was just going to point out like what y'all were saying. Sorry, my kids are crazy.
That's okay. We love it.
Rhea says hello. When it comes to this whole topic of like, oh, I've not been doing this as long or whatever. It's a bowl of yogurt that just went. But I think of that parable that Yeshua told us about, where they were giving people work, like everybody was coming to work, and at the end of the day, like by the day being ended, like different people came at different hours. So there were some that were working all the yogurt. Some were working longer all day long, but at the end of the day, they all got paid the same wage. And I think about that sometimes with this walk. It's like some people have been walking this walk for years and years. And then there's some that are babies like Jen. And it's like, it's almost like he expedites the knowledge.
100%.
But at the end of the day, there's still that same payment. This is Isaac, my little.
Yes, Mary Catherine, that is so good. That is, hi, baby. Hi. That is so good. That's so true. And that's the thing, is that it's that do what you can do right now. If all you can do is, I mean, literally, if all you can do right now, say you've got a house full of family that doesn't want anything to do with Shabbat, let's just say, okay, and you're the only one that wants to do Shabbat. So what if you set the table? What if, even if they don't come and have dinner with you, set the table, make it different, make it special. Just you do something that for you is setting it apart. Oh, the Holy One will honor that. He will make sure that that is honored. Jen, could you grab that mic, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, he will do that. He will honor your set apartness. He will honor that. It's not about you having a house full of, having the banqueting table set. It's about you before the Holy One setting the time apart, even if you're the only one doing it. So whoever needs that today, just let that be. It might be that you just go into your prayer closet for 20 minutes and get some time alone with him. And then you come back out and watch the football game with your family. I mean, really, it doesn't have to look like somebody else's, but what it does have to do is be you setting yourself apart and this time apart for the Holy One. So let the pressure be gone and allow the peace of the Holy One to invade your homes tonight as the sun sets wherever you are. As the sun sets, let his peace pervade your home. Enter into a time where your heart is turned toward him and you are setting yourself apart for him. Remember, it's that thing that's being set apart right where you are, even if you're in the midst of, family barbecue. It doesn't matter. You have that time set aside. You have that peace in your heart that you are setting that aside for him, and honor it. And then every time you do it, something else will be joined to it. Something else will be joined to it. I just want you to be at freedom, please. Be at freedom.
I keep thinking my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And I think when it comes to Shabbat, when we put too much pressure on ourselves, that's not what he's looking for.
No,
it is a set apart time where we are supposed to be resting in him. And that's, if you're doing that, if you're resting in him, no matter what that looks like, he doesn't want you to be all stressed out, freaking out on Friday, running around, worried that it's not going to be perfect. That's not what he wants from you.
I mean, is that how you get ready for a date? It's all freaked out so that by the time they ring the doorbell, you're like, you're frazzled. You're frazzled and you can't even take a breath. You can't even enjoy your time. No. So think about that. Yeah. And then also think about, how are you modeling this for those people that are in your home? How are you modeling it? Are you cranky and angry? I was when I first started doing Shabbat. I wanted it to be perfect. I was so mad at my kids. They would have food fights, and I'm wanting to have this perfect little beautiful. I have everything all printed out in Hebrew on everybody's placemats. No, really, that's me, my control freak person. And my kids are like throwing food at each other, and my husband's laughing and snorting, and my kids will be blowing milk out their nose. I mean, this was the reality of it. But nobody was telling me, Brenda, it's okay. You don't have to, you don't have to be in the university level on your first day of kindergarten. But I didn't, so I spent a lot of time with a lot of wasted energy and a lot of wasted emotions. And so that's why I just want you to all just have the freedom, just be blessed. Feel the shalom, the peace, the wholeness, the wellness, the completeness, the totality of his arms as a father wrapping around you and loving you and squeezing you and saying, you are my precious one. And I am right here, right now, in the midst of it. And you can't go anywhere that I am not. That's what he's saying to you today. That's how he wraps himself around you as the Aleph. He wraps himself around you and says, I'm the leader. I'll take care of this. You rest in me. You just take a breath. Yeah. And let his presence rest on your home. It's a heaviness. It's a weightiness. Let it rest on your home, even in the midst of the chaos. Okay. You got this. You got this. All right, ladies, we are going to stop the recording. I love you so much. Join us for the after party. Jump on. We'll be on for about 20 minutes or so. Thank you so much for joining us today. We love you. Be blessed. We'll see you next Friday. Be blessed.